to the Rich in Purpose Transform. Welcome to the Rich in Purpose Transform Childhood Trauma Summit. Today I'm here with Phillippa Vincent Connolly. She's a historian, author, transformation coach, and champion for disability inclusion. Born with cerebral palsy, Phillippa turned her challenges into purpose. She founded Aims for Life, coaching for disabled people to empower disabled individuals worldwide and champions change with faith, grit, and heart. Welcome, Phillippa.
Hello, lovely to be here with you, Jamie.
Well, thank you so much. Before I get into the questions, Phillippa, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and then how you became so inspired to really help individuals, even though you had a challenging life so far?
Yes, I became a certified Napoleon Hill coach back in August 2023. Went through all my training with Cleona O'Hara and her team, and basically I realised that there was nothing out there to support disabled people with coaching. And one of the paradigms I had when I initially got into personal development, way back in about 2014 with Bob Proctor, was I believed that this material wouldn't work for me because I wasn't perfect, because I was disabled, because society saw me as not perfect. And I thought, I wonder how many other disabled people have felt the same way or feel the same way. And I started looking around to see what support and help was out there for them, and there wasn't any. And so I had this idea that I wanted to bring to fruition to actually help and support disabled people with personal development coaching so that they could be mentored around any area in their life, not just about their disability, but to do with their career, their relationships, their family life, anything they wanted to be coached with. And so I got together with Cleona and we discussed it. And basically, I set up this non-profit called Aims for Life, Coaching for Disabled People, which is AIMS stands for Accessibility, Inclusion, Service and Mindset, or Mindset and Service. So I said to Cleona, I wanted to offer this and wanted to offer people the ability to come into NHI. And we came up with a plan to offer all of NHI courses at a 50% discount. Because I've been speaking to, obviously, I'm from the UK. And so
Right.
the way we deal with disability in this country is slightly different to what perhaps your state and your government would deal with disability in the US. And I had conversations with some American friends, and they said, if you work in America and you're disabled, then a lot of your care and your support gets taken away from you. So there's a lot of disabled people that don't actually work or can't afford to work because then they don't get the support they need. So I thought, well, I wanted to take away that conversation that we have around financing a mentorship course or a coaching course if people want to become a coach, take that away or take the pressure off. So what I'm looking to do now with the non-profit is to raise funds, get grant writers in so that we can actually sponsor disabled people that we know, family and friends, so that they can do courses at either no cost to them or a 50% discount off the original cost of the courses, so that then there's no barrier there for them. They can come into the personal development community, come into NHI and be able to receive the support and help they need and really start to make changes in their lives, which is what we all want to do when we get into personal development.
Well, mindset is a big part of that, right? If you hang around with people that just go ahead and accept that you're disabled and you get into that lifestyle, then that's what happens, right? Is you don't go to work and you don't do things because you want that funding and you want stuff that will really keep you going when really you have the opportunity if your mindset is right to do anything that you want, right? The one thing with Napoleon Hill is that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. And if you can get that mindset into people that are not used to positive mindsets, then they do have the opportunity to do whatever they want to do. And I just think that's great, Phillippa, that you're putting that extra effort into helping people, especially
And
with the mindset.
the other thing that really struck me about this material, especially in the first chapter of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says that this material and this work is for everyone, and everyone is written in capital letters.
Mhm.
And that really resonated with me and jumped off the page at me as I read it. And I thought, that doesn't exclude me, that includes me. I'm an everyone. A disabled person is an everyone. And so that was another reason why I wanted to bring this work in this way and be able to support people not only in the UK, but in America, worldwide eventually. That's how I see it being. And having other NHI coaches, other personal development companies, all being able to do different offers and to be involved in what I'm doing with the non-profit. That's how I see it growing and being, so that we can support as many people as we possibly can. And looking to get funds in to be able to really make a difference to people's lives in a huge, huge way. So that's really what it's all about for me. And it's my definiteness of purpose has been from day one when I've been in this work is to normalize the conversation around disability, to take away the stigma from it, to take away the limitations from it, to take away people's preconceived ideas about it. So whether I'm mentoring, coaching, whether I'm researching disability history, doing a PhD on disability history, whether I'm writing books on disability history, whether I'm, structuring and writing a course specifically for disabled people in personal development, it's all about changing that conversation around disability in every single way that I work. Also in politics, also in every way, in who I am as a person, being a role model, being a product of this work, so that people can see that yes, if Philippa can do it, then yes, I can do it. Whether I'm disabled or non-disabled, it doesn't matter. I can do it too. And that's what it's all about.
Well, sometimes that's really the key, right? Is that they say that I can't do it, and they see somebody that can do it, and they're like, ah, and it changes your mindset, and it changes the faith that you have that you can do
Yes.
it as well. Well, Philippa, the first question I have for you today is, you have openly shared that growing up with cerebral palsy came with challenges that were both physical and emotional. What are some of the most significant ways that experience shaped your sense of identity, worth, or belonging as a child?
Okay. So I'm a 55-year-old woman, and attitudes to disability were very different 55 years ago. I was born premature at 26 weeks. I was a very tiny baby. I weighed less than a bag of sugar. I was 2 pounds, 2 ounces. So I was a miracle baby. I shouldn't have survived. According to my parents, I died about 10 times and was resuscitated because my lungs and my internal organs hadn't developed fully. And you could lie me flat in my dad's hand. I was that small from head to toe. I was really, really tiny. And because of that disability that I was born with, because it's a lack of oxygen at birth, which affects parts of the brain. And so um, I'm a bit wobbly when I walk. I've never been able to run. My balance is very poor. I didn't walk until I was about 5 or 6. The doctors and consultants told me that by the time I was 10, I'd be a permanent wheelchair user. And I defied everybody all the way along. But what used to happen to children like myself and children who were worse than me is we would be institutionalized into like a boarding school where you would have your education, but you'd also have things like your medical support. So you'd have physiotherapy once a week. You'd see a consultant once a month, for example. I used to wear calipers. I used to wear those big clumpy boots to put my feet into. I used to have to do exercises every day to stretch all my muscles. So part of me being in this boarding school was having that support as well. But I went there from 3.5 years old until I was 9. And it was very strange for me because my parents only lived like 20 minutes drive down the road, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't one of these children that went home at night in the evening and then would come back to school during the day. But I used to stay over all week and then I'd go home at the weekends, and I absolutely hated it. I dreaded it. On a Sunday night, whichever parent was taking me, I would cry all my way from home in the car until we got to the school, and I really didn't want to get out. But the what I realized was that I was one of the most fortunate children there because I was the most able-bodied out of a lot of them. I was in a dormitory of 6 to 8 girls, and there was one girl, for example, that used to be actually strapped into the bed at night so she didn't fall out. And if she had any problems in the night, if she needed to use the lavatory, for example, I would be the one that would get out of bed in bare feet, trundle down the corridor and try and find one of the nurses or the carers to come and help. You know, it was always me. Oh, I would always stand up for people. Would always be the voice for the underdog, if you see what I mean. There were other children there who were wheelchair users who couldn't speak, who couldn't feed themselves, they couldn't use their hands or arms, they couldn't use their legs. You know, it was a difficult place to be when in my head I didn't have any limitations. Physically, I would have obviously some limitations and everything, but in my head, I was just like everybody else. So emotionally and intellectually, I found that hard. And also with our education, we weren't stretched enough. We were just taught the very, very basics. And I had a thirst for knowledge. I wanted to learn. But anyway, I was there until I was 9 years old. And my mum actually fought to get me into what we call mainstream school. So I'd go to an ordinary middle school, and then I went on to senior school, high school with non-disabled students. And that was a challenge because I was different and I was bullied an awful lot once I went into mainstream school.
Yeah.
And that was difficult to negotiate. But always, 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 especially as I became a teenager, I had this very strong faith in myself and a very strong determination within myself to succeed, to get on in life, to do whatever I wanted to do. And I think because of my near-death experience, should we say, um, I realized, or I had an unconscious knowledge that God, universe, whatever people choose to call their higher power, had his hand on my life. I didn't know why, but I knew he had. And I'd always felt like that from a very, very, very young child. And Napoleon talks about utilizing the universe, utilizing that higher power, utilizing that counsel, if you like, in a mastermind. And I always felt as if God was always with me, no matter what I went through. So yes, I did go through some really, really tough times. And my mum went through divorcing my dad when I was very young at 4 years old, and then she married somebody else a couple of years later, and there was a lot of domestic violence involved. He used to beat her up in front of us, and that was a particularly tough time for me as a child as well. And I think I was more concerned about my mum's well-being, and so I tried not to take on board what was happening with her. I didn't take it personally. It was all about me supporting her, even though I was like 6 at the time. My older sister was 10. And I think that going through those kind of experiences in life gives you an extra resilience you never knew you had. You either move forward in faith and knowing you can make your life better, or you crumble and you curl up in a ball and you become the victim. And I chose to be the victor and not the victim.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. It's what you're saying is amazing, and you can if you were reciprocated or brought back in life 10 times when you were growing up, and then you went through all of this, and now you're doing what you're doing. It is really a fact that God had chosen you from the beginning, right? And in some way you realized that. But so many times, Philippe, that I just did an interview with a coach that she was a sibling of a disabled person, and she was the one that took care of them. But here you seem to be a disabled person, and you were taking care of your mother and other people that you went to school with. So it's kind of like a flip, right? Here
Yes.
you were the one that's supposed to be getting taken care of, but then you started taking care of everybody else, which kind of is an amazing story in itself.
Mm, yes. And I'm like that with my two boys. I've got my eldest is 22, my youngest is 21, and I'm still looking out for them even at their age. And it's it's just that responsibility, that respect, that relationship, you know, regardless of, in spite of or despite of a disability, you can still do your bit for other people. You can still serve people. You can still look after people. You can still emotionally support them, even if you might struggle physically supporting them. There's ways that you can make a difference in everybody's lives, in all the people that come across your path. And that's always been my philosophy.
Well, that's wonderful. It says, because here I have another question. It says, many people who go through trauma in childhood have complicated relationships with God, faith, or meaning. How did your faith support you during those formative years? And was there ever a time when you struggled to reconcile with your experience with your belief in a loving God?
Oh gosh, God and I have had several arguments over the years, more than several conversations, heated conversations, should we say. Um, I struggled for a long time with being born the way that I've been born, accepting myself in this physical body. But I always had the idea that there's a reason for it. I just had to find out what the purpose of that was. And now, through this work, through my definiteness of purpose, through normalizing the conversation around disability, that's what my purpose is. And, I struggled with people saying, oh, you could be physically healed, go and get prayer, go and do this, go and do that. And yes, for a while I went down those channels and everything, but I've accepted now that if I had had physical healing through prayer and through the laying on of hands, that I wouldn't be on the path I'm on now. I perhaps wouldn't be supporting the disabled community because I would have got my healing, and then I would have gone off probably in a completely different tangent. So I'm quite philosophical about the way I look at it now. And I always remember those verses in the Bible where it talks about, I saw you knitted together in the womb. You perfectly formed. Those verses. And yes, regardless of my disability, God knew who I was as a person. He knew my character from before I was even born. And that's what I love about God, about the universe, is the fact that He knew me so well even before I knew myself. And that inner knowledge is what's really helped my faith and helped my faith to grow and helped my relationship with God. I talk to him as if like I'm talking to you. We just have conversations all the time. Napoleon Hill talks about intuition. mine's a little bit more than intuition. I can sometimes hear an audible voice and have that conversation. Or like it's funny when I'm in a mastermind with some of my other coaches, colleagues from NHI, I'll be sat there and I'll be listening to what they're saying, and they'll say they need support with something, and I'll suddenly get God, universe saying to me, tell them this, write this down. So I'll write something down, and then when I get a minute, I say, I've been told to tell you this. And then when I share it, it's absolutely on the nail. It's really uncannily weird, but great. So yeah, so I have like it's not that I'm special in any way, but I think I've built that relationship up now where I've got like a direct line, and that and my intuition as well is really, really strong. So that really helps me with all the coaching work that I do.
Well, and so many times, people will say, "Oh, I just you don't accept it," right? I mean, it seems like for me, when I'm talking with you, you've accepted everything that has happened to you, but
Hmm.
yet you've made it an advantage so that it can not only help you, but it can help others. Which,
Exactly.
again, I just admire what you've done because so many times people become a victim, right? And they live their whole life as a victim. But you've like, I'm not a victim. I'm somebody that God chose to be this way. And
Yes.
I'm going to change people's lives because I have the ability and I have the mindset to understand really kind of what people go through, which other people don't have that ability to
Mm.
what they're going through. And then you have the compassion to really help them. And I think a lot of times, Philippa, is that, people will really feel your understanding because so many times people, oh, you're just a bother, I'm going to help you and this type of thing, but you have compassion to help people, and when you have that true compassion, people really feel it, and that's
Yeah.
probably why you get so much response. And
Well, one of my um ways of being that I've written into my major goal is as a coach to be as authentic as possible and to mentor with love and to mentor with faith. So be authentic, have loads of faith, and mentor with love and compassion. And that's what I write in my goal every single day.
well, I mean, that is an amazing goal, and that is really everything, right? Faith and love and compassion. That
Hmm.
is because so many times when I'm interviewing people, we've all had some kind of trauma that's within our summit. But people say when they found somebody that loved them and was compassionate for them and said they wouldn't give up on them, that's when their life changed.
Yeah.
And that's what you're supplying to people, right? Is that I'm not going to give up on you. I understand what you're going through. And I have sometimes it's like, I have the faith that you don't have yet, and I'll keep
Yes.
working with you until you get the faith.
Yeah. Piggyback on my faith.
Right.
Piggyback on my belief.
That's right. And it says here, we talked about you're a Napoleon Hill coach, and it talks about definiteness of purpose and the power of belief. How did those principles support your healing, confidence, and success, especially when you were navigating the limitations others placed on your body or your future? And we kind of talked a little bit about that, but kind of expand on it a little bit, Philippa, that, how because so many times we have faith for a little while, but we don't have faith for a long time. And you've had the faith for a long time. So tell us a little bit about that.
Basically, I realized that if I don't believe in myself, then nobody else is going to. And I have to keep going because the only person I can truly rely on is myself, God first, and then myself. So that's what keeps me motivated. Because if I don't do it, like I said, I could just start to drift and become in victim mode the whole time. And that's not me as a person or as a character. So it's just about keeping going. I'm not saying that I haven't had struggles and challenges. Of course I have, like everybody does. But it's not about those challenges. It's about how you deal with them and how you respond to them. You don't react to them, you respond to them, and how you get into action to sort those, to overcome those challenges and those struggles. And I do little things like I've got a book, I make a list, I've got a list of 300 things that I'd like. They could be small things or they could be large things. And I've had that from like for the last 2 years. And what I love about it is every time I achieve even one of those small things, I just cross through it. And every so often I pick the book up and I flick through it and think, gosh, I've achieved that. Oh, I've achieved that. Oh, I've achieved that. Or I wrote a daily wins book that people can fill in, which you can buy on Amazon. So um, I get I do that regularly on a regular basis. I have a regular accountability buddy. I've been doing my own mastermind with 4 or 5 different people from NHI within the community for about 2.5, nearly 3 years now, every single Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock in the UK, and have people from all over the world in it. And having that consistency and that repetition. And now I'm leading the self-discipline camp once a week in Eastern Standard Time. And this week I've led 3 mornings on the UK self-discipline camp. And I'm just myself, I'm just my authentic self. And I just share and we just do the meditations. And I actually write my goal out in the chat. I write the things I'm grateful for in the chat so that it encourages other people to do exactly the same thing, to get into action and to do the work. So it's just keeping going. When you get that negative self-talk, when you feel like you want to give up, when you feel like, oh, this isn't working, it's not for me, I can't do this anymore, I'm exhausted. And I get like that. You just have to keep going, push yourself just that little bit more. Read out your affirmations out loud to yourself in the mirror. Write your goal out 50 times. Get on the self-discipline camp. Re-go over the mentorship course material. Delve into Think and Grow Rich or one of the other books. Just don't quit, don't give up. I mean, I went to Wise in Virginia and I met Don Green and I was at the archives, the Napoleon Hill archives, met Cleona, met everybody. I travelled from the UK on my own. I was petrified, went all the way from the UK to Wise, had an amazing time for about 4 or 5 days, met so many wonderful people who are part of NHI. And so I feel like they know me, and it's all part of also being part of that community, being on the calls regularly, serving people, doing what you can to make a difference. And that's all that it's about.
I'm going to ask you, Philippa, is that, so many times when, especially when we go through childhood trauma or, go through some kind of a disability, we look at ourselves as being less than a lot of people. And sometimes we don't love ourselves. And if you don't love yourself, then you don't really, like having a book of 300 things, right? And carve them off, that builds confidence as you keep going. But in a sense, you have to love yourself in order to do that. Tell us a little bit about how you learned to love yourself and how you learned to just kind of grow in the situation that you're in.
Well, God loved me first to create me exactly as I am. So I've got to be pretty special to have survived everything I've gone through. So the way I look at it is, if I love myself, then other people are going to love me. If I exude an acceptance of myself, then other people are going to accept me. Um, my best friend always says to me, you know, initially she found it quite hard being friends with me because she was very wary of disability because she didn't know enough about it. And now she says, I don't even think about you as being disabled. You're just Phillippa, you're just like this amazing person that can do anything. And I just think that you have to have that belief in yourself because, like I said earlier, nobody else is going to have that belief in you like you've got the belief in yourself. And yes, it takes time to build that confidence up and that self-esteem up in you. But if you don't do it, what other choice have you got? You will be a victim. You will let life happen to you. You will drift. You won't succeed. And I don't want to be somebody that's leading a mediocre life because I'm not a mediocre person. I don't think God created me to have a mediocre life. He created me to make a difference and to share love and to serve people and to be light and love in the world, regardless of what's going on with me. And that's what it's all about.
Well, you're, in the Think and Grow Rich, right? It's for every adversity, there's an equal or greater benefit, and you
Yes,
are just like it's like exude that you took what happened to you, and now you've made it a benefit, and now you're helping other people. Which,
exactly.
when we have this conversation, it kind of makes me just like I get excited about things I can do, right? Well, if you can do it, and you're going through with all this enthusiasm. I mean, this conversation is going to be, I'm going to get up there here and a couple things I don't know if I can do. I'm going to think I can do them. Right?
Yeah, sure.
It says, so now that you run a nonprofit supporting people with disabilities, what are some of the emotional or systemic barriers you see people facing most often? And how does your faith and personal philosophy guide the way you support them through these challenges?
Well, we've talked about the financial side. So by being able to offer the 50% discount, that really, really helps. And by eventually getting grant writers to bring sponsorship money in, that's going to help a tremendous amount of people. So that gets rid of one barrier straight away. And accepting a disabled person, accepting themselves for who they are in the body they've been born into, I think is probably the biggest challenge that they have to overcome. And other people's perceptions of them. You know, one of the six ghosts of fear is a fear of criticism, a fear of what people think about us. And I think that's doubly important for disabled people because, for example, I walk as if I'm permanently drunk. Not that I drink alcohol, but I'm a wobbly woman. You know, it's only recently that I've started using a walking stick. You know, I've got to that time in my life with menopause and hormones, it's changed everything. So, of course, when I'm walking around um, the town or when I'm going shopping or anything like that, I do get people looking at me because I walk differently to everybody else. And especially when I was a teenager, it really used to get to me and I really hated it. I hated people staring and I would just blinker and not look about me. And now when I get that, I'm just like, I smile at people and say, hello, how are you? Or whatever. And it takes them off guard for a moment because I think what disabled people need to realize, if they don't already, that we are exactly the same as non-disabled people. We have the same wants, needs, desires. We have the same fears. We have the same emotional challenges. We have all those issues that everybody else has. It's just slightly compounded because we have other things to have to overcome, like limitations with getting around physically, or we might have an intellectual challenge that we struggle with. We might have ADHD, we might have Down syndrome, anything. So it's about accepting yourself first, loving yourself first, and from there you can achieve anything you set your mind to. And that's it.
Well, I think that, and you said it, and that's kind of the theme of this summit as well is love yourself. Until you love yourself, nothing else really kind of happens, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I read a lot of Zig Ziglar books when to even get to the Napoleon Hill, and in his book, See You at the Top, like in the seventh or eighth page, not too far back, he says if you don't have confidence in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, then the whole book is not going to do you any good. Even though they give you all kinds of goals and all kinds of things to do, unless you believe in yourself and unless you think that you can do it,
Mm.
it's not gonna work. And that's the one thing that I just really have admired about you in this conversation, Phillippa, is that you believe in yourself, you love other people, and you're here to help them.
Exactly.
And the one thing, I mean, just in this conversation, I'm like, okay, how do you help me do some things, right? Or how do I help you get into this nonprofit that you're doing? Because you become part of what you're around, right? And if people
Exactly.
can learn to be around you and learn to pick up your faith and your enthusiasm and all the things that there's nothing you believe that you can't do, no matter what type of disability that you have. And
Hmm.
that is the inspiration that people need. And I think, if you look at God putting you here for a reason, that's the reason, right? That you just inspire people and you believe in yourself and you love yourself and 9 out of 10 people, I would say, and that's a scientific approach, but would take what happened to you and be the person that you became. There's not very many people that would do that. So, Phillippa, I just have admired our conversation. I admire what you do. And I'd like for you to tell the audience before we go is that, and people that watch it, is what you need, right? I know it's funds and things like that, but tell people how they can help you and kind of go into a little bit more of how you're going to help other people when they help you.
There's all sorts of ways people can help with the nonprofit. If they've got a disabled person in their family or in their community, or they've got a friend who's got a disability and they want them to get involved with being mentored or coached, I offer a free discovery call for 20 minutes where I will sit and talk to somebody and I help them to find out what they really want, what their goals are, what their definiteness of purpose is. There's no charge at all. It's just a conversation to help them move forward. So that's the first thing that I offer. If somebody wants to sponsor somebody to do a course, then we can negotiate on that as well. And if an employer wants to be able to sponsor people, maybe they can advertise on the AIMS website and we can get in sponsorship funds in that way. There's all sorts of ways that it can be done. I'm going to tell you something funny. This has been going round in my head for the past sort of year and a half since I started the nonprofit. I don't like heights, but I have been thinking that I might do a skydive, like an in tandem skydive to raise money for the non-profit. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'm thinking maybe next summer with the RAF over Salisbury Plain, somewhere like that. I might do that. So to get money in for the non-profit. And the other thing that I want to do, there's this wonderful hotel near Windsor, which is about 20 minutes drive from Heathrow Airport. So I'm wanting to get an event going for like 1 or 2 days where we have people from all over the world in NHI come over and talk and share, talk about the material, talk about the work, and we get lots of disabled people there as well as non-disabled people as well. And we have an event and we boost the non-profit and we share the difference that it's going to make to the disabled community. That's the other thing that I'm looking to do fairly soon as well, next summer. So there's all sorts of ways that people can get involved. If you are a seasoned grant writer and you know how to write those really long-winded grant applications, I could really do with some help with that because that's not my area of expertise. Bob Proctor used to say, if there's something you don't know how to do or you don't like doing, delegate it. So yes, I've got lots of little jobs that could be delegated to people if they want to get involved that way as well. So, and the other thing is because I'm leading the self-discipline camp in the UK 3 days a week, 2 days a week, and once a week in New York Eastern Standard Time, then I am going to put out there a challenge to people, a 30-day challenge. If there's anybody that would like to come on this self-discipline camp with me for 30 days at 5:30 in the morning their time, I can get you into that at no cost to you, just so that you can experience it and see how the self-discipline camp can make a difference. So I've got lots of different offers. If you just want to have a discovery call and have a chat, I'm here for you. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, well, no, we'll put your website and stuff on the screen for you. And but the one thing I was going to say before as we go is that Napoleon Hill scratched out the word impossible in his dictionary, and because everything is possible. Well, you can scratch out the word disabled and call it challenges. And I'm going to help you overcome your challenges by the experience that I've had through the challenges that you've had. Well, Felipe, I mean, again, I'm just so inspired, and I'm sure the people that watch it are going to be so inspired as well. And I'm going to encourage people that if you know anyone that's going through a challenge, have them reach out to Felipe, or if you just want to help support her, because everybody needs support, and it takes money to really do great things. So, in some way, support her. And I just thank you so much, Felipe, for your inspiration in the summit, and I'm sure that we're going to be able to do some things in the future as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jamie, for inviting me. I've really enjoyed speaking with you. And if I can make a difference to anybody, I'm here. Just connect with me. It's as easy as that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.